visiting and singing on the barge as it travels up the river. Another boat trip in tropical Africa is the steamer on Lake Victoria. It takes 5 days to make a trip around the lake. And here we see some people going aboard with their sleeping mats and a lot of their belongings. And so we find river and lake transportation to be some of the most important practical method of transportation in tropical lands. Today, boys and girls, we talked about the plants and animals of tropical Africa and some of the methods of transportation. I hope you enjoyed our lesson. Until next time, this is Miss Matson saying goodbye for now.
This is WVIZ, TV 25 in Cleveland.
Gompers, this coal strike is now in its 5th month. The cold weather will be here soon, and this nation simply cannot go through the winter without coal.
I know that, Mr. President, but I also know that the miners have filthy working conditions, that they are underpaid, and they're often treated like cattle by the mine operators.
Now, look here, Gompers. I want this strike settled in a hurry, or the government will take over the mines. And don't think that can't be done. Remember, I am President of the United States.
That is true, Mr. President. But I am President of the American Federation of Labor. And as such, I must insist upon fair treatment under the law. And I shall continue to protect the interests of the workers no matter what happens.
For nearly 40 years, right up until the time he died, Samuel Gompers was president of the American Federation of Labor. He saw his union grow from an organization of just a few thousand workers to more than 4 million. Now, you've probably heard the phrase, in union there is strength. Now, that's what happened to our country during the Revolutionary period. At first, we were 13 separate colonies. Then we joined together to become one solid union, or nation, in order to build a strong force to fight for the freedoms of democracy. Now, that's what happens in labor. Workers join together to become one solid union, a union that stands up for their rights and bargains with their employers for good working conditions. Now, working conditions were pretty bad when Sam Gompers was a boy. He was taken out of school when he was 10 years old to learn the shoemaker's trade. Like the men in his shop, he worked from dawn to dusk, 7 days a week. For about 2 months, he worked for nothing. Finally, he drew his first paycheck, about 6 cents for 1 week's work. Such long working hours and low pay were quite common in those days, and it was common, too, for boys of Sam's age to go to work. Even the few pennies that Sam earned were urgently needed at home, for his family lived in a crowded, run-down section in the city of London, England. Here in this poor neighborhood in 1850, Sam, the first of 6 children, was born to Solomon and Sarah Gompers. Now, Sam disliked the shoemaker's trade, not because of the low wage or the long hours, but because of the noise that went with it. So his father, who was a skilled cigar maker, started teaching Sam the cigar maker's trade. Sam became an apprentice and soon was earning as much as 24 cents a week. Now, Solomon Gompers was finding it hard, even with Sam's help, to support his growing family. Moving to America offered hope for a better life. So, in 1863, Sam's family sailed to America. As soon as they were settled in New York, Sam and his father set up a cigar-making shop in their home. After a while, Sam went out and found a job on his own and soon joined the local cigar makers union. He attended union meetings and he obeyed union rules, but only because he was told to. He had not yet begun to understand what a union could mean to a working man, or how it might fit into the business and industry of the nation. By the time he was 17, he had worked in several cigar-making shops and had developed a reputation as a loyal, hard-working union member. Many times he was called on to speak for his fellow workers when they quarreled with their employers.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Sam. Speaking for men old enough to be your father.
Well, that has nothing to do with their complaints, Mr. Stockelberg. Besides, the men are apt to choose whomever they wish to speak for them.
You know, Sam, I've been meaning to talk to you. I like your work. I like the way you conduct yourself. I've been thinking of putting on another foreman. I think it's a job you could carry well, Sam. And of course, it means more money. Now, if you'll just forget all this nonsense and go back and tell the men to stop bothering me, I'll see to it that you get first crack at the job when I decide to put it in.
I thank you for that, sir. But I'm not here on my behalf. No, I'm here to patch up things between you and her men. And I do not intend to leave until things are settled.
I'm not paying out my good money for your no-count lollygagging. This'll see
Stop,
ya.
Mr. Turner. Don't touch the boy.
Mind your manners, Gompers. I'm the boss around here. I'll do as I please. And besides, he was lazy and bothering the other men.
Oh, he was just asking questions, trying to find out about some things. He's trying to learn.
Well, he's not going to be learning on my time. I'll just show him a thing or two.
Oh, he's not a slave. He's a human being, and he's a good worker if you give him a chance. If you hit him, Mr. Turner, all of the men will stop work and walk out on you.
It was from just such happenings that Sam began to realize that the workers in the shops had to help each other. They could not stand alone. If Sam had spoken only for himself, the employer would have paid little attention. But when all the workers threatened to quit, the employer faced a much larger problem. In the first place, work in his shop would stop. Then he would be forced to hire new men who perhaps knew nothing about his business. Sam was learning that when employees stuck together, they were strong. And when they were not together, they were weak. A Great Depression swept the country in 1873. That meant that hundreds of factories were closed down, and thousands of men, suddenly without jobs, walked the streets of American cities, uncertain of their next meal. Thousands more walked out on strikes, hoping that it would stop their employers from lowering their wages. They failed miserably. Many unions fell apart and disappeared. When some of the strikers held public meetings to try to solve their problems, the meetings were broken up by the police.
Looking back, I well remember how frightful it was to watch a period of unemployment. To see thousands of good, hard-working people out of work. It is even worse to watch it when your friends and fellow workmen are hungry and in need because they are denied the chance to earn a living. I know what was going on in the minds of those men and what was happening in their homes, for I was one of them. Being hungry can drag a person down. It takes away hope and then dignity.
Now, in order to fight the unions, the company owners, who were the employers, of course, joined together to form their own groups to work for laws that would hold the unions back. For example, one such law permitted a Pennsylvania court to find the leaders of a miners' union guilty of disturbing the peace when they held a public meeting to protest a cutback in wages. Employers used blacklists to keep union members out of their plants. Now, a blacklist was simply a list of names of suspected union members. Often, the employer groups would meet to make plans against the unions.
Look, the strike must be put down and the union broken up, no matter what or how long it takes.
They say they'll live on bread and water before they back down.
That's an idle threat. They'll support their strike as long as their money holds out. And they don't have much of that.
I say let them strike. Personally, I stand to gain by it. We don't have enough work at the moment to employ a large number of men.
Well,
they're going to meet a lot of trouble when they come to us.
How's that?
Well, you know, we own most of the houses that our employees live in. Although I don't like to think about it, if they strike, they earn no money. With no money, they can't pay the rent. And without paying the rent...
Then you'll evict them.
That's right. Out they go.
For my part, I just as soon close down before I give in to their demands.
Well, not me. Business is good right now. We'll just call in some scabs.
Scabs, or strikebreakers, as they were called, were workers who didn't belong to the unions. They were hired by the employers to fill in for those workers who walked out on strike.